I heard a lot about lawsuits and different things in my childhood and realized quickly that personal insurance is proactive planning. While attorneys are great that kind of wait for worst case scenarios to happen, but with personal insurance, you can really understand your clients and transfer that risk to insurance. Less than 2% of advisors are doing this, but 72% of their clients want this. PNC is the cheapest wealth defense out on the marketplace.
Welcome in to the Connected Conversations in Insurance podcast. My name is Ray Huang. I am your host. And today we're going to be exploring the intersection of insurance and financial planning. My guest today is Meaghan Dowd. She's the Director of Insurance at Holistiplan. And if you know financial planning, you probably know Holistiplan. They are a leading tax planning and financial planning software used by, is this right? 50,000 advisors?
Yeah, at this time.
Crazy. Really amazing traction there. Meaghan leads their sort of next frontier beyond financial planning into insurance planning. So today we're going to be, discussing why insurance is kind of that missing piece for advisors and how data-driven planning and how that benefits insurance agents as well as the financial advisors. And ultimately what we care about is the client. So Meaghan, it's great to have you here and with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited and can't wait to talk about the product and how it helps everyone that is, part of personal insurance.
Awesome. Before we jump into that, I'd love to learn more about you. So maybe, tell us a bit about yourself. What's your origin story as far as getting to where you are now?
Yeah. So like most people, I didn't get into insurance by accident, but I was an insurance broker for 15 years. I come from a family of attorneys. So I heard a lot about lawsuits and different things in my childhood and realized quickly that personal insurance is proactive planning. While attorneys are great that kind of wait for worst case scenarios to happen, but with personal insurance, you can really understand your clients and transfer that risk to insurance. So spent 15 years helping consumers better understand insurance and partnering with financial advisors to really support their clients in their mission of protecting that plan that they're building. I then wrote a book about protecting your lifestyle for both consumers and financial advisors, just to, again, help educate on some of the misinformation that's in the marketplace. We've all seen the commercials that it's so easy a caveman can do it, but it is not so easy a caveman cannot do it. It is a very hard contract in certain places. Even as you guys know, finding a deck page can be difficult. So let alone understanding the policies and terms. So I started doing education for Holistiplan and then quickly fell in love with their mission. They had a PNC product that they had started to build, and they asked if I would join the team to help finish building that product and really bring it to market. And it's been a fun ride. Financial advisors love their clients and care about their clients. And so it's been nice to be on the other side and also start to change the conversation that the PNC world's having today, and not just being, hey, can you get me the best price? But hey, here are my needs. Can you help me make sure my needs are being met? Which is what Holistiplan does.
How did you guys get to a place of 50,000 users using your product? What's that secret sauce you think that has those financial planners so kind of obsessed with your software?
Yeah. So I think, one of the main things is Roger will say, we were founded by two advisors. We were built by, 20,000 advisors. We take our clients' feedback to heart. It's in a channel that we see every day. They're the reason our product is so great. Our support team is another thing. So while we are a technology company, the humans are what make our product, I think, really great. Our support team is quick to answer. There truly is no dumb question that comes into support. And then, Holistiplan is also invested in what's called our senior support team. So they're actual CFPs that can work with that advisor to understand what is tax planning, why is our range calc potentially doing something, and how did we get to that calculation. So it's not like we just built a piece of technology and handed it off to very busy people. We gave them great technology, but also, a great support to implement it and make sure they understand it, because every client's different. And so sometimes the software is great and easy to use on everyday cases, but maybe you get that prospect with the edge case. You then have a great team at Holistiplan to help kind of work through some of those calculations.
Gotcha. Yeah, the team I've worked for a ton of software companies through the years, and it does make a big difference of like the team like matters, because like, yes, you can someone can have the same similar starting point sort of vision for something, and if they're just like a product oriented person or just a focused engineer, then you kind of keep going down that path, and you don't find that like the opportunities there to improve your product, to actually deliver it to what your customers need, and to make sure it's speaking the right language. And then also finding these additional opportunities. We've certainly found that at Canopy Connect as we've grown as a company, and you guys are doing it too, as you kind of start branching off into different aspects of planning and whatnot. So that's amazing. What was kind of the deciding factor, I guess, in not, I don't want to say a pivot, but also like a branching into insurance planning? Like, what was the driving factor that said this is the right time and piece and all that?
Yeah. So I think there was a few things, one, when we started tax planning, insurance was actually one of the things Roger wanted to start with, but insurance is very hard to OCR. Tax, was, the less route, and something that advisors already had some interest in doing. Not a lot of them were doing it, but enough were doing it that we could make it efficient and better and, help them grow and focus on other things. And so PNC really came back into the picture because we had a few big firms asking for it. They started to really see the value. Their clients were coming to them mostly about rate increases, but they didn't want to solve that. They wanted to solve the conversation. And so we really, again, listened to our consumers. We're hearing what they had to say, and really built for them, and really that focus on providing education and adoption in the insurance space, and not just, again, go get a quote from a broker, but we don't know what you need a quote for, why you need a quote. We just know that's what we're kind of told to do. And so, but Roger was an advisor before he built Holistiplan. And so this was something that was in his practice, and he firmly believed that like every advisor should be doing insurance planning. And so it was just a natural, extension for us to start investing in.
Yeah. And do you guys find that this is already for other typical financial planners and tax planners, that going towards insurance and advice around insurance helps them round out? Or is that something that maybe is something that requires some level of market education and getting people there?
Yeah, there's definitely some market education. I think a Spectrum 2021 study showed that less than 2% of advisors are doing this, but 72% of their clients want this. So again, that's, the needs out there. Clients are expecting their advisors to do it. And then Chubb and Oliver Wyman did a study back in 2018 that was focused on advisor clients and the impact it had when advisors started to talk about PNC. And not only does it just protect their assets under management, but it grows their wallet share, it increases referrals, it increases longevity. So like, we know PNC has an impact outside of, again, either saving money or finding gaps. It helps that advisor grow their book of business organically, which is something that, we all want to do. And at the end of the day, PNC is the cheapest wealth defense out on the marketplace. If something happens and the client doesn't have insurance, they're calling their financial advisor to get either market or money from management, maybe to ask for a loan on a 401k, maybe to figure out how do we get a home equity line of credit on our house to cover it. So like, regardless if the financial advisor wants to be involved or not, they tend to get involved at the worst case time, where now we're trying to help them be proactive and prepare. So when they do get involved, they're already aware of like what's covered, maybe what's not. But the key to Holistiplan is we don't want advisors to be an insurance expert. That's not the lane we want them to be in. We want them to stay the quarterback. Clients trust advisors so much. And as we know as insurance agents, they don't trust us at all. It takes a really long time for them to tell us they even have a dog sometimes, or that they have a pool in their backyard, because I guess they're afraid insurance agents are going to come swim at night. I don't know, but advisors know so much about their clients that they can be that bridge. And so that's what Holistiplan really allows, is for the financial advisor to take all that information they know about their client, enter it into our system in the lifestyle analysis that we do, but then upload the deck pages to do that needs analysis. Does my client's coverage actually meet our needs? And then overlay that to take to an insurance agent, but really making sure that they don't feel like they have to have a huge educational curve. The curve we're fighting is just getting 90 seconds on their desk to do the workflow we've created. But other than that, they don't need much more time.
I always think of like the conflict that may or may not come up when you've got more people, right? A lot of our audience here are insurance agents and agency owners who feel like that is overstepping on, well, insurance, that's my world, and you stay over there, financial guy. Do we see a lot of that conflict, or how are people working together? Or is that, and for example, like I hear often like, oh, the mortgage broker says, your homeowner's insurance should cost, is probably going to cost this much. And this is probably all the coverage that you need to cover it. And then the insurance guy goes, well, hold on, mortgage broker. Like, that's not what the market is anymore. The last few years have been wildly different. And they don't know the ins and outs. Like the mortgage brokers going through and just kind of going by heuristics, right? The calculator that they use to generate the estimated closing costs is just formulaic. And it's like, your house costs this much, and this percent is typically what your thing is. So yeah, where's that conflict potentially lie?
Yeah. So I think it is just in that assumption that everyone kind of operates like a mortgage person, that they're only looking for like the cheapest deal. And don't get me wrong, there's advisors out there that think like that, but most of them care about their clients. Most of them serve like 50 or 60 people that live next door to them. So like they are worried about the coverage and making sure things are right. And so where I see friction a lot of times is when the advisor asks for the deck page and the insurance agent's like, well, why do you need it? Are you shopping it? What are you doing with it? And the advisor's like, no, I just want to make sure that they have, 500,000 in liability, 250, 500 auto limits, and they have an umbrella. And then I'm done, because that's all advisors really think they need to do today. Maybe shop the market. But in all reality, their fiduciary duty, if they're CFPs, is to make sure that there's no hidden risk. And so that's, again, that lifestyle and what Holistiplan does. But that's where, one, we found a need in that advisors avoided the insurance conversation because they didn't want their client to feel uncomfortable in that declaration collection, because they weren't doing it to go to market 95% of the time. They were doing it just to make sure like the top easy check boxes were checked. And so that's where we saw the first hurdle. But what we found is with our actual product, once they go through the review and they took our agent letter and our summary to an insurance agent, the insurance agent actually loved it, because now they know about the client, and or the client sees they have needs. They see they don't have water sewer backup. They see they have a gap in replacement costs. So instead of saying, can you save me? They're like, how much is this going to cost me to fix all these gaps? And so now the insurance agent gets to say, well, it's only actually going to cost you XYZ, and gets to be the savior versus being the gap finder and then the Band-Aid to it. So it's like, hey, let me create the wound and let me then put a Band-Aid on it. Now Holistiplan is the one, opening their eyes, seeing what's wrong. And then the insurance agent really gets to be that hero and putting the Band-Aid on and solving it. And again, building that trust with the client that they can execute on the needs. And it's not just about finding the cheapest price. Maybe they sit on a non-for-profit board, for example. That insurance broker can only go to 5 markets that offer nonprofit directors and officers on the umbrella. So now that takes also marketing time a lot less. Instead of having to go to 15 markets that they serve, they only go to the 3 markets that can meet that client's need, and really changes the conversation to a needs-based conversation versus a price-based.
Yeah. And I'll say for the insurance agents out there that are working with, or have clients that come in and say, hey, this is what my advisor saw or recommended, and like they're doing some of that discovery work for you. That is often the stuff that clients, like you said, can be a little shifty about and uncomfortable sometimes with sharing. Again, I think insurance gets a bit of a bad rap that they're salesy, or they're trying to upsell me on stuff I don't need. So when that comes from like a fiduciary or, there's someone else that kind of has a different perspective and a different picture and a different understanding, they're going to come and be more amicable, more likely to be like, okay, these are the things that I recommend. How can you help me? And then you can find the right plans and the right coverage and the right kind of supplemental things that you need to make that work.
It was always so nice when I worked with advisors, 'cause again, their clients came ready. They weren't scared of the 1% wind-hail deductible. They're like, that's okay. That's what we have savings for. They weren't afraid of some of the limitations because they knew them. Their advisor helped build that confidence that like 1% is very normal, or like getting coverage for a roof over 15 years old is really hard. So like we can't shop it, stay put, be happy. And so like what ends up happening is instead of having to educate every client that comes in the door, you educate the advisor, and then they really do that cushioning and education along with you as you build those partnerships. So it was always like, for me, a very successful way to build long-term relationships, in a large capacity.
Yeah. And I'd imagine the clientele that are getting, if you're in a position where you're getting referrals from a financial planner, that these are, say, people that have their stuff together.
Good credit
probably
score,
higher net worth.
Insurance scores. So you're not worried about insurance scores. They don't mind cutting their trees back. They appreciate like the heads up that it's an issue and risk mitigation. And
whereas you often hear the other more nightmarish clients are also probably the one that are not getting any outside advice, and they're trying to, they're the ones that you're worried about going to the .com, carriers and whatnot, and trying to bypass the whole insurance agent side of things.
Yeah. The best way, like I explain it, is, and we use mortgage lenders earlier, so I'll kind of lean on them a little bit. Mortgage lenders see insurance as a cost, like my debt to income. Insurance affects my debt to income, which affects me getting to the closing table. Advisors see it as financial protection. They see it as an asset. They see it worth the clients investing in. They, again, not all of them are like, go spend 40% more to go from, State Farm to Chubb, but some of them are like, hey, you have nice stuff. You don't have time to be nickeled and dimed. Spend that, more at time of claim, so you can, or at time of premium, so you can have the claims experience based on your lifestyle. But again, they're always looking out for their client's best interest. But if it is in the client's best interest to make a move to a better program, they will be the biggest champions an insurance agent can have.
Yep. Picture this. You got a hot lead on the phone. They're ready for a quote, but then comes the dreaded question. Can you find your current declarations page and send it to me? Well, suddenly, the momentum stops. They have to go digging to look for it. You have to wait. And that easy quote becomes a chore. It doesn't have to be this way. Canopy Connect turns that 30-minute scavenger hunt into a 10-second digital handshake. Your client just clicks your link, signs into their current carrier, and boom, you have everything you need to provide an accurate, competitive quote. It's bank level secure, SOC 2 compliant, and frankly, it makes you look like a tech savvy genius. Give your prospects the modern experience they expect. Join the thousands of insurance agencies leading the pack with Canopy Connect. Visit usecanopy.com/intake and see the difference for yourself, or just click below to find out. Canopy Connect. Insurance intake simplified. I know I said we weren't going to focus that much on our respective products, but we do, selfishly, we do have a new integration between Holistiplan and Canopy Connect to facilitate people using Holistiplan primarily to pull in deck pages and other insurance data from Canopy Connect. So thanks for your team for thinking of us and building that out. And I think that's going to make the process and removing a lot of that friction from that process in very much the same way that with insurance agents, we're kind of removing friction from getting that on a sales prospecting side of things. So anything you want to add as far as how or why that is an important feature that we're doing too as you get into insurance planning?
Yeah, 100%. So we know, again, less than 2% of advisors do planning today. So like we're asking them to spend time on something that they don't really want to spend time on historically because it's been such a pain to, again, even get the declaration pages to start the process. And even if the clients could get the deck pages, they then had to know how to scan in a deck page or take a picture of a deck page that had like both sides or one side. And so it was just a very bad experience to get a really good product out the door. And so now this really just allows the advisor to have no legwork. They, do a simple link, they're done. And then, that takes them 30 seconds maybe to create that link. And so for 30 seconds value, they now get a final end report, where before it could have taken them an hour to, 2.5 hours of emailing time back and forth to start it. And that was a big barrier to even getting, the PNC report done. And so that for us is really excited because we do believe as a organization that every client should have PNC planning, not every year. And again, that doesn't mean shopping every year, but that does mean you are checking in with your clients, making sure they haven't outgrown their current policy. I will continue to talk about lifestyle, but I saw it time and time again, even with my clients where maybe 5 years ago, they bought a Progressive policy that had had a trampoline exclusion and a dog exclusion. And it didn't matter but 5 years ago because they had no kids and no animals. But then this Christmas, they bought the trampoline or they got the dog. And now that exclusion that once didn't matters today on December 26th because now it's part of their life. And so that's why we do believe advisors should be at least reviewing and having those conversations on, common red flags they see to make sure that it's, done correctly. And so that's where Canopy, not only from the first declaration collection, but the monitoring feature you have that really can allow this to be like a workflow and ongoing feature that advisors can easily implement and roll out is something we're excited for. Because again, we don't want them to be the expert, but we do want them to do this for every client on a regular basis.
Yeah. And you had mentioned that stat earlier about only 2% of advisors are doing this sort of insurance planning or looking for insurance information. So I'm hopeful that removing some of the friction in that process will help increase that. I think that in combination with kind of market education of, and that's not on Holistiplan specifically, but I'm sure you'll do your part, but making that more important as kind of industry conversations. What other bodies I think are in play that are helping to spread that word, the importance of doing that? Are there other organizations or anything that are championing that?
Yeah. So I think the industry as a whole is changing. When I first got in the business, it was all about quoting. If you could at least quote 100 people a month, you'd close at a ratio that you'd get enough business done that it was worth it. Today, you could get 100 leads in the door, but 60 of them may not qualify for today's market. So there's just no math that you can really do. So I think, again, as an industry, we're going to be changing from let's just quote to let's better understand your needs before we waste money and time within our marketing department to actually go quote your business, because that costs insurance agents a lot of money to quote business and not bind at a certain ratio. And so I do think the education is going to come from agents saying, no, we can't just quote. What do you really need from us? But then obviously there are, the insurance nerds out there and Insurance Journal that are doing their part from a financial advisor standpoint. There's not a lot of education out there. That's one thing. We do CE credits for financial advisors on insurance planning and really are trying to be that champion to just give them the basis they need to feel confident to even bring this conversation up to clients at this point. So we're always looking for more people to help spread the message. Again, I see it on LinkedIn all the time. There's definitely folks out there, and I wish I had names to them, but it's something that we'll see what happens in the industry. But between the bind ratios going down, commission compression in states like Florida, it's just not what it once was. And so I do see, Holistiplan and all of that fitting in from the perspective of needs analysis and being able to provide better understanding to clients in that education way.
Yeah. How do you think, we had mentioned the referrals, if an agent can get a referral from a financial advisor, probably a good lead. Definitely. How do you think one would go about as an insurance, for putting your insurance agent hat on, building out some of those referral relationships with the advisors. Do you have any advice on how they might approach that?
Yeah. So, I would say advisors are looking to meet insurance professionals. They're not looking, and I would say insurance advisors, they're not looking to meet insurance agents. So if you can really be
Right.
that insurance advisor on their team, that risk management arm that picks up the phone when they have the question, but is also happy to quote potentially on a Saturday because they have a prospect coming in the door. But like most financial advisors are 1 or 2 man shops. And like, again, that's where as an insurance agent, you can win those, but you are then a new department of theirs. And if you can blend yourself to be that department and build that trust, you will win that business. And again, whether you kind of do the review that Holistiplan does, or you have them do the Holistiplan review first and then send it to you, so you can be the professional having the conversations and actually making recommendations, because advisors don't want to make recommendations. While they know their clients, should have certain things, there are some gray areas that they love to throw over the fence, but know they're being handled by like a trustworthy person. So it's as easy as going on LinkedIn, looking in the area for, CFP designations, finding some folks that potentially don't work in like the large houses, but are, more of those mom and pop shops. And then just, again, coming at it from an education. Don't come at it from, I can save your clients a bunch of money, or I can do this for you, but like, what do you need help with? And again, is there a way I can continue to build your clients' education around insurance?
Yeah. And I think possibly offering to be an educational resource to the planner as well, because they don't have the depth of experience that an agent or a risk advisor would have. So sharing that information, what should you be looking for as you're looking through these? When do you want to maybe not put a recommendation in, but kind of kick it over for the insurance arm to advise on that?
And one thing I would say, like when I was an insurance agent, every advisor had an insurance person already that they could call and get quotes from. But now that I'm out of the business, it is very eye-opening how many advisors actually don't have an insurance person they trust. They have someone that, again, if a client needs a quote, they can call. But when they need someone they trust, they go to Google, or they go to a Facebook group message, or they go to Reddit and see what that says. And so to your point, I think if you can just start building yourself, maybe you're in a BNI group, or maybe you're in, again, your community organization, and there's a storm coming, put up some facts on hey, when the storm hits, don't answer the door for the door knockers that want to put a new roof on. And here's why you don't want to do that. Start just posting and leading with education, and people will naturally, I think, flow. But yeah.
If your insurance agency staff is still spending hours a day on manual data entry, you aren't just losing time, you're losing money. The modern agency isn't built on paperwork, it's built on automation. Canopy Connect is the industry-leading platform that automates your insurance intake. From personal lines to complex commercial loss run summaries, Canopy Connect pulls verified data from 400 carriers instantly. It integrates seamlessly with the tools you already use like PL Rating or EasyLinks, so your team can focus on what they do best: selling and building relationships. It's time to level up your workflow. Go to usecanopy.com/intake or click the button below and discover why the top performing agencies in the country trust Canopy Connect to power their growth. Faster quotes, better data, more wins. That is Canopy Connect, the complete insurance intake platform. You've been in the insurance and now financial planning space for a bit. There are trends and things that go on. I thought we'd play a game of Kiss, Marry, Kill on insurance or financial planning trends, whatever comes to mind. Basic rules. Kiss is, trends that are hey, this sounds good for now. See how it goes. We'll take a flyer on it. Marry is something that's a long-term choice. You love the idea. And then kill, well, that trend needs to be killed.
Okay, so I would kiss the roof exclusions or roof issues that are happening in the marketplace today, because I do think it is an unnecessary burden that has been shifted to insurance agents for cosmetic, or insurance companies for cosmetic damage. And I do believe the true intent for insurance is catastrophic losses and things that individuals cannot financially support themselves. And a few dings on a shingle just aren't that. So like I do think that the 1%, 2% deductibles for roofs are actually something that will in the long term really help consumers, help the marketplace, hopefully stop paying out for unnecessary claims and get us in a better position overall.
I like that.
My kill would 100% be shopping on price, like, and also like killing all commercials that have no educational value, that just talk about animals and like melting ice cream. So I just think those should all go away and do way more harm than good to consumers and products. And then I would obviously marry like needs analysis for consumers when it comes to PNC. I think we've all been brainwashed to think it's so easy, but as I mentioned in the beginning, it's a really badly written contract that was written for financial institutions, not consumers. It can be molded to better protect consumers, but that comes with understanding your needs first. So then you can find the contract that covers them. And so for me, I would definitely marry like more of the needs analysis that's coming out in today's PNC world.
Thinking about the future and how things look with Holistiplan and financial planning in general, like we live in a world of increasing systems and automation. Where do you think that human element of insurance planning sits 5 years from now? Like, what do you think is going to change? What's going to get fully automated and what's going to kind of stay the same?
Yeah. So I think, what's going to be fully automated is quoting. I think the idea of just like getting everything in, getting proposals out will be fully automated. What won't be is understanding the contracts and like how those apply to actual clients. I think what will become more important for, insurance agents to do and financial advisors to lean on insurance agents to do is when to file a claim. I think we all run to file a claim sometimes, but I recently had a family member who I won't name get in a minor car accident. They're over the age of 65 though. And, 65 and accidents aren't great. So potentially paying out of pocket, there was nobody in the other car. So again, I think having guidance when and how to use insurance is going to become really important, because it's not just about pricing anymore. And you can't get insurance on every corner. There is an insurability issue that we're running into in the marketplace. And so I think that's where I see insurance going, and insurance advisors really, again, being more contract oriented and claims oriented, and not just the order taker or the shopper in the experience.
Yeah. There's like people are leaning so far into convenience and automation and, oh, look how easy it is to file a claim. You just do it in your app. And I think the advisory sort of aspect of that, even with AI out there, which at some point I feel like, or it's probably already out there, is like, am I getting AI advice from, whether I should do this or that? And that's not coming with a full, complete kind of picture or understanding of your situation.
Or follow-up questions, and,
the details matter, especially in these things.
Or again, there's context from other conversations that come into play that you just, again, AI is not going to know. There's the human element. There's just so much. And that's why I do feel like everyone needs to embrace technology and where it can be efficient, and then allow that to emphasize where you can be more human and really add more value from a personal perspective versus a data entry processing flow perspective that, I do believe AI can do for us at this point.
Awesome. Well, just to wrap things up, this has been a great conversation. Where can people find out more about you and find out more about Holistiplan?
Yeah. So holistiplan.com, we do a 7-day free trial for our tax and insurance products. So if you want to try us out, if you're bored, we'd love to, have you see what we can do. We, again, are integrated with Canopy Connect. It's free for you all to use. So again, starting this process will be very easy and fun. And then I'm always available on LinkedIn if anybody wants to connect further.
All right. We'll drop some links in the show notes or descriptions here, and make sure you guys click through and make sure you check out Holistiplan and see what they've got to offer. They've been great partners to work with, and looking forward to seeing how that grows and getting more than 2% of wealth financial planners starting to look at and give advice on insurance. I think that's definitely a direction that is important for us to get to. So, Meaghan, thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a pleasure.
Tune in next time for the next episode of Connected Conversations in Insurance. I'm Ray Huang. I'll see you later.
Collecting insurance information sucks for everybody. Long forms and even longer phone calls are frustrating for prospects. And still, you're left wondering if what they told you was accurate. Now, there's Canopy Connect. Simply send your prospect a link, they select a carrier, and sign in. That's it. In seconds, you'll get deck pages, policy information, claims history, and much more. Canopy Connect, the insurance data intake platform.